Well, it has been a couple weeks now since the errata, and things have gotten stirred up pretty good. We're looking at a more even balance in armies that are getting to the top 12 tables. Sadly, the things that they nerfed for Eldar, they just have so many other things in the wings that rock way too hard that Eldar are still kind of dominating on the top tables. But today we're here to talk about one of my favorite armies, the Orks. In the US, at the Flying Monkey Con, a collection of 134 players battled it out. And I want to talk about my favorite list from that event, which is a very high placing Ork list. We have not seen a lot of Ork players hitting the top table, so it's great to see after the points adjustments in the errata that Orks are placing a little bit higher and can potentially hit those top tables. It starts off with the big boss himself, Ghazghkull Thraka, and his wee but lucky git, Makari. It then goes to Kaptin Badrukk, one of my favorite units currently in the Ork book. Him with the flash gits, it's unbelievable. We'll go through it all once we get through the list. 9 boys and a knob for a squad of 10. 3 trucks, 10 flash gits. This is where Kaptin Badrukk is going to be sitting. A Gorkanaut, which I never thought I would be seeing on the tabletop. 2 squads of 10 Gretchin. 3 squads of 5 Meganobs, all kitted out with twin Killsaws. 2 squads of 3 Squighog Boys. 2 squads of 5 Storm Boys, each with a knob, with a claw. And a squad of 3 Warbikers with a knob and a claw. If you're not familiar with the army-wide Ork rules, we can go through them really quick. The main one that everyone likes to scream, no matter where you're at, is WAH. WAH allows you to, once per game, declare a WAH, and everybody in your Ork army can advance and charge. They can add 1 to their strength and 1 to their attacks characteristics, and also it gives them a 5+ invulnerable save for the entire turn. A WAH is incredibly strong. You have to know that your opponent has a WAH, or you know when to plan to use your own WAH. It can sort of be thwarted if your opponent's going first, because you have to declare it at the start of the battle round, which means you'd have to declare a WAH in your opponent's turn, hopefully soak up all that damage with your 5+ invulnerable saves, and then push forward with your advance and charge, get stuck in, get plus to strength, and that plus to your attack. The other ability, which is I've already declared, let's get stuck in. Melee weapons equipped by Orks models from your army have sustained hits 1. Unbelievable force multiplication. It's an incredible gift to already be good in close combat, and these guys just hit extra hard once they get there. There's a ton of stratagems to go over that synergize with this list, but let's cover the list first. Let's start off with the big boss himself, Ghazghkull Thraka and Makari. Ghazghkull has a respectable shooting attack. Rapid fire 4 means he has 16 shots at 18 inches, only hitting on 5s, who cares? It's just volume. His close combat is devastating, 6 attacks. Remember, he always has sustained hits. A weapon skill of 2, strength 14, AP 3, damage 4. There are a few weapons in the game that hit like Gork's Claw, and it is a respectable close combat attack if I've ever seen one. Don't forget, Makari's going to try to poke you with his stab. He can lead a squad of Meganobs. There are 3 in this list, so he's got a comfortable amount of units to choose from. And speaking of, while he is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. So he would be giving himself +1 to hit and +1 to wound with a strength 14. Also benefits the twin Killsaws that the Meganobs in this list have. +1 to hit on a weapon that hits on 4s is really, really strong, and +1 to wound because they are already strength 12 for those Killsaws. It's incredibly good. Also, Makari can wave Ghazghkull's WAH banner while a friendly Orks unit is within 12 inches of Makari. If you have called a WAH this battle round, melee weapons equipped by these models have the lethal hits ability. This is ridiculous. It means that all of your hits are going to auto wound. A force multiplier beyond. He also has toughness 6, a 2+ save, 10 wounds, a 4+ invulnerable save, and the best part about all this is Makari. Makari has a 2+ invulnerable save, which you're going to have to get through to even touch Ghazghkull Thraka. It can be brutal if your opponent doesn't quite realize that he has a 1 wound throwaway 2-up invulnerable save. Ghazghkull's fantastic. And my personal favorite, I just used him in a game last night, Kaptin Badrukk. Great shooting profile, good in close combat, but the flashiest Gitz ability is where he shines. He is cheap for his cost, and what he does is he allows your entire unit to re-roll the hit roll. This is for your Flash Gitz unit, which have a gun with sustained hits 1, which means you're fishing for those 6s, which gets you additional hits. And dead glowy ammo is ridiculously strong. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. He is toughness 5, he has 6 wounds, he has a 4-up invulnerable save, 6 attacks in combat, and he subtracts 1 from the toughness characteristic of opponents' infantry models while they're within 6. This synergizes with the strength 6 guns of your Flash Gitz, as most infantry units are kind of hovering around the toughness 4, dropping them to 3, which means you wound on 2s. Their shooting profile is a heavy, sustained hits 1, 24-inch, 3-shot, ballistic skill 5, strength 6, -1, damage 2. Their shooting attack is really quite good, but let's take a look at their close combat attack. 4 attacks at strength 5, -1, damage 1. So they're very respectable in close combat. Running forward and shooting something and then charging it, you're gonna absolutely crush stuff, especially if you are close enough to shoot something with gun crazy show-offs. Each time a model in this unit targets the closest eligible enemy target, their attack characteristic of their gun goes from 3 to 4. An additional shot, that's 10 extra shots in a squad of 10. The skills that these guys have, they just keep going. Ammo runts once per battle. When this unit is selected to shoot, it can use this ability. If it does until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit have lethal hits. That means you have Kaptin Badrukk in the Flash Gitz squad. They are shooting the closest enemy unit, so they're triggering gun crazy show-offs. They have sustained hits 1, they have lethal hits 1, and they're re-rolling all their hits. That's 40 sustained and lethal hits with re-rollables. It's incredible. Best thing you can do with this unit, one of the greatest things, Overwatch. You're still fishing for 6s. The 6s have sustained 1. You can absolutely rack up insane amount of damage with the Flash Gitz, and I just love this unit. There's such a fantastic point cost. When you WA, their attacks go to 5 and their strength goes to 6. It really pushes this unit to a top tier, especially with Kaptin Badrukk in the squad. Of course, a squad of boys, classic boys with the power claw. Boys do what boys do. They're fantastic. A great little unit to have hovering around the back, or just be a nuisance zipping around the battlefield in a Trukk. Let's talk about Trukks. Trukks are one of the best things in the Ork Codex, and one of the best things to do is use a stratagem on them. We'll be going over the stratagems once we're done with all of the data slates, so don't worry about that. Grot Riggers at the start of your command phase. This model regains 1 lost wound. Pretty respectable. Movement of 12, which will come into play with that stratagem. Toughness 8, 10 wounds, 4-up save, which isn't great, but who really cares, because they're dirt cheap. They can transport 12 Ork infantry models. Each mega armor model takes up the space of 2. Okay, but I mean, you know you're putting your Meganobs in there anyways, so it doesn't really matter. A surprise unit I wasn't planning on seeing in top tier is the Gorkanaut. Movement of 8, toughness 12, 20 wounds with a saving throw of 3. Really, really massive, tanky stat line. It also has a transport capacity. It can carry infantry models and mega armor models. It can also carry some jump pack models, though everything counts as 2. It cannot transport Ghazghkull, however. It has an incredible amount of shooting with its Deffstorm mega-shoota. If it's in within rapid fire, it has 30 shots at strength 6, -1. It's got rocket launchers, it's got scorches, twin big shooters. This thing is insane. Speaking of insane, take a look at its melee profile. Holy crap, it's ridiculous. And make sure that you have to factor in that you can WA, which means it would get an additional attack on both of these and an additional strength on both of these. It has clanging forward as an ability. Each time a model makes a normal, advance, or fallback move, it can move over enemy models, excluding monsters and vehicles, and terrain features that are 4 inches or less in height, as if they were not there, which is great. And each time this model makes a melee attack, if you've called a WA, add 1 to the hit roll, which means it's hitting on 2s with strength 19, AP 3, damage flat 6. It'll absolutely crush anything it comes in contact with, bar none. I love it. 20 wounds too, incredible. One of the underrated and overperforming units in all of my Orks games are Gretchin. You don't care about Gretchin's toughness or the run third in the squad. It is Thieving Scavengers. At the start of your command phase, roll a d6 for each objective marker you control that has one or more units from your army with this ability within range of it. If you roll a 4+, you gain 1 CP. Gretchin can get you a CP. They are 40 points for this lonely little squad. They can screen out, they can be an overall nuisance, they can cover your backfield so your opponent can't deep strike or outflank anything, and they can also get you a command point. Just ridiculous amounts of value is what you can get out of these Gretchin. There are 3 squads of Meganobs in this list. They also have twin Killsaws. It gives them only 2 attacks, which isn't great. Weapon skill 4, also not that great, but strength 12 minus 3, damage 2 is fantastic. Remember, all of their attacks are sustained hits because that's the Ork rule. Crumpen Time, which is an ability they have during the battle round in which you call a Wa. Melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have devastating wounds. Holy crap. Unbelievably strong. A maxed out squad is going to absolutely thrash anything it gets in contact with. And remember, one of these squads will have Ghazghkull in it, and Ghazghkull will give that squad +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which means these twin Killsaws are going to absolutely destroy. Twin linked as well, so those devastating wounds even have a higher chance of getting those devastating wounds off. We have 2 squads of 5 Storm Boys. I'm not sure where these would go. They could potentially go in the Gorkanaut as it can hold them, or they can go scattered across the battlefield and just cover ground, get you objectives, get you points. They're just a 5-man squad of boys with a knob and a power claw that move extra fast. They can also go full throttle. This unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. If it does, before making that charge move, roll a d6 for each model in this unit. For each one, this unit suffers 1 mortal wound. You cannot use this ability, which a turn which you call a Wa, which wouldn't make any sense anyways because you wouldn't want to take mortal wounds. Also, 2 squads of 3 Squighog Boys. These guys have a strange amount of durability with a feel no pain of 5 and toughness 7 and 3 wounds. I'm not sure why they're OC2. I don't care. It's awesome. They have a really good attack profile with the Sticka, which is anti-monster 4, anti-vehicle 4, and Lance. Don't forget that once per battle, for each bomb squig in this unit, after this unit ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit within 12 of it and roll a d6 on a 2+. The enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, which is pretty solid. You can also ignore any or all modifiers to this unit's move characteristic and to its advance and charge rolls. And a squad of 3 Warbikers with a knob and a power claw. Warbikers add more toughness 6 to already a very heavy toughness 6 list, and they also add in a little kick of speed as well. They can zip around the battlefield, do objectives, all that awesome stuff. Pretty solid overall unit. Trukks are one of the best things in the entire codex. And the real reason why they shine is the stratagem Careen. Any phase, just after an Orks vehicle unit from your army with the Deadly Demise ability is destroyed, your unit can make a normal move or fall back before its Deadly Demise ability is resolved and before any embarked units perform an emergency disembarkation. When making this move, your unit can move over enemy units, excluding monsters and vehicles, as if they were not there. This puts the 12-inch movement of the Trukk in a whole nother category. This allows the Trukk to leapfrog over units and deliver its infantry payload behind a unit that it's just leapt over. It also can just get you more ground, as Careen can zip your units closer. You can steal objectives away from your opponent that they didn't think they were going to have and get you objectives on your turn. Careen is one of the most powerful assets that any Ork player can remember as one of the best stratagems for Orks to use. Orks is never beaten is also very strong. Essentially, in the fight phase, after your opponent has chosen one of your units, you can choose that unit to still attack after it has died. Of course, you can't attack twice, so if your model has not fought this phase, you can trigger it with Orks is never beaten and still get off a whole bunch of close combat attacks. Unbridled Carnage. Fight phase. 1 Ork unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time an Ork model in your unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified hit roll of 5 scores a critical hit. This combined with the fact that when Makari pops the banner, he gives everybody lethal hits. So all your lethal hits trigger on a 5-up, and you have sustained hits from just being an orc already, means that if you're attacked by these Meganobs and by Ghazghkull, it's an incredible amount of lethal and sustained hits that are going to be rolling over you. It's a very, very deadly combination, and something I didn't really quite see with Makari until I read Unbridled Carnage and found out that combo. Hard as nails. This list is already full of toughness 6. It's already full of a whole bunch of armor 2 and a bunch of speed. Hard as nails is fantastic. You cannot select a vehicle or a Gretchin unit, but you can select all of your other units in your opponent's shooting phase or in the fight phase. Just after they have targeted a unit, you can select that unit, and your opponent is -1 to wound that unit. Incredibly strong. It means that anything that comes in that you know is going to actually throttle you, you can pop hard as nails, and you can save yourself a whole boatload of damage. Here we go is ridiculous. At the start of your movement phase, 1 orc infantry unit from your army. Till the end of the turn, add 2 to your advance and 2 to the charge rolls made for that unit. That means when you wah, you can advance with a +2 and charge with a +2. This is essentially adding 4 inches onto the movement of that unit. It's unbelievable amounts of value, especially when you have some of these slower kind of units like Meganobs on the battlefield. I'm so happy that the meta has been shaken up and we get to see a couple of these other armies hitting those top leveled tables. Of course, you're free to refuse, but I think you should subscribe to this channel. I do one of these pretty much every week, and Space Marine Steve also does content on this channel every week as well. And make sure you check down in the description below, as there's quite a few other channels that are good friends of mine releasing awesome content out there, all of it 40K related. Are you using orcs? Do you see something here that you did not expect, something that you weren't using before? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear how you guys play your orcs. Maybe there's something that I missed or misinterpreted. Please let me know. There's so much information out there, and I'm trying to do these things every single week for a new army. And I love that orcs actually made it to a top table. I'm proud of the boys. Thanks for staying informed, guys. You gotta know the foe.